Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, the show that keeps you bang up to date with everything that's been going on at Old Trafford. And speaking of Old Trafford, we are here on location at Hotel Football. The show is on the road as we react to Manchester United's absolute complete embarrassment of a performance to Spurs here earlier on this evening, 3-0. We've been absolutely stuffed. Want to welcome in talkSPORT football correspondent Crooky, Alex Crook, how you doing? Angelina Kelly joined us as well, talkSPORT reporter. Guys, let's just get straight into this. This is if you think we're going to be negative, this ain't going to be the show for you because this is literally straight off the bat reaction. Crooky, you've just come out of Old Trafford, as of all of us. How do you sum up what you've just seen?
Well, I spoke to a couple of United fans coming out of the ground. They've been watching the Red Devils for 30 years, and they said this is as bad as it gets. And listen, there've been plenty of low moments in the last decade or so since Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill left the football club. But I've got to say that first half I think was as shameful as I've seen from a Manchester United team. I thought it was spineless. I thought it was gutless. I thought it was pathetic. Any negative word you want to use to describe that performance. And in some ways, the Bruno red card, which we're going to disagree on, you didn't think it was a red card. I actually think there was a deliberate movement of the leg, and therefore I think he could have avoided the challenge. So I think it was a red card. But all that's done is given Erik ten Hag an excuse to come out in the media and say the red card changed the game. No, it didn't.
No.
We were getting battered at that point. If anything, the red card maybe made the scoreline more respectable because it gave an excuse in that second half. The 10 men came out fighting. There was a show of defiance from the Stretford end. The fans were brilliant, by the way. But it's easy to play with 10 men when you're 2-0 down. You've almost got nothing to lose. The time to stand up and be counted was right from the first whistle. To fall behind to the same goal we saw here against FC Twente in midweek, 3 minutes into the game, is an absolute shambles. Ten Hag asked for patience in the build-up to this match. I think United fans have been more than patient. I've backed the man to the hilt. I can't back him anymore.
You think that's it?
There's no progress. And the only thing you can change now, because they've changed the board, so we can't lay the blame of the Glazers solely anymore. They've changed the players. They spent another £200 million in the summer. Ugarte was a car crash, by the way. I only hope that he's going to improve. The only thing they can do now is change the manager. And it will happen. It won't be tomorrow, probably. It might not even be after they lose to Porto. But if they lose to Porto, they lose to Aston Villa. It's inevitable. It's inevitable anyway. It's a question of when and not if now. And I think it's probably been a question of when since the summer, when they went on that sort of beauty parade in terms of who can we get to replace him. Actually, there's no one there. Let's keep this bloke in situ. He's a dead man walking.
Angelina, big opinion from Crooky there, but how do you see it? I'm not going to be stupid enough to be like, well, do we need to keep calm? Do we need to, there's a lot more in the season because this is absolutely atrocious. But do you agree with what Crooky said?
I agree with absolutely everything. I mean, on one hand, this is only, 5-6 games into the season, into the Premier League season. I understand that some people may use that, but for me, it is game over for Erik ten Hag. I don't see, even if we manage to get a result against Porto and Aston Villa, which I don't think that we will, as much as Porto are not the same side that gave Arsenal the problems because, they sold their best striker, they've had a change with their manager, but Porto losing their first Europa League game, they will want to get a result. We're going away to them. You look at Aston Villa, as much as, they've conceded in their games, they are still much better than us. Even if we did somehow manage to get a result from those fixtures, I don't think Erik ten Hag can come back from this performance today. Spurs completely carved us open. It was embarrassing on every part of the pitch. I was talking to Crooky earlier, I'm trying to think of who was our best player.
The keeper.
Yeah, the only person I could come up with was Andre Onana because he actually made a couple of decent saves. I can't think of anybody else. It was, yeah.
It's lucky he's rubbish.
It was embarrassing. It was like a comedy of errors at times, the way that these players were performing. It didn't look like their hearts were in it. It almost backed up what Christian Eriksen and Erik ten Hag were saying after the game midweek about them not having the fight, because that's all I could see on the pitch. It was even down to little things, like it almost made me laugh. When Bruno got sent off, they didn't even know who the vice captain was. because Onana was pointing at the bench going, is it me? He gave the armband to Mazraoui and he was like, who do I even give it to?
Is that what happened? From where I was sitting, I couldn't see
literally,
that. They didn't even know who the vice captain was.
As he came off, he gave his armband to Mazraoui. He looked around, I think because that was the closest person to him.
You have it.
I think he was just saying, he was walking off the pitch and that was the person closest to him. He's then looking round and looks to Onana. Onana's going to the bench, is it me? And he's looking round and then he ends up giving it to Martinez, who I don't think was a great vice captain because he himself was very petulant like Bruno, getting that yellow. But for me, I just don't see how Erik ten Hag can come back from this. And I think whatever decision the board make, and I think this was discussed on talkSPORT as well today, whatever decision the board make, the whole thing just looks very, very foolish. And it's very, very worrying. It's very sad. And for me, the biggest takeaway from this game, you know, I'm younger than you guys, but I've been watching Man United, you know, I've been watching Man United for as long as I can remember. And I have never seen it the way the fans left. Because it wasn't even like you can say, oh, they're leaving because it was raining, because they'd been walking out into the rain. They preferred to walk out into the rain than to sit and watch that game. I could see, the Sir Alex Ferguson stand has the, you know, the white seats that spell out Manchester United. With 10, 15 minutes to go, I was starting to be able to see those seats. That's how many people had gone, to put it into perspective for people. I have never seen fans leave like that. And it's almost giving me that kind of Unai Emery feeling at Arsenal. And I fear that it's going that way.
And they're brilliant fans, by the way.
100%,
you know,
I will say that.
The match-going United fans don't call for managers to be fired.
No.
And
especially in the stadium when the team's actually on the pitch.
Yeah, and this
guy...
they
tried to get behind them.
They did. There was a show of defiance.
The players didn't deserve that.
Either. No, they didn't. Those fans deserve a lot more. No, absolutely not. But what I was going to say is they don't call for managers to be fired. And we've all got behind this guy. We've wanted him to succeed. We realised that we won the FA Cup last season. We won the League Cup in his first season. And there were signs of progress then. We finished in the top 4. But they've not kicked on. You know, that first season really was as good as it got, bar that one performance in the FA Cup final. And let's not forget, we were a toenail away from losing to Coventry in the semi-final.
Which was a sackable offence, that one was.
Exactly, which would have been an absolute humiliation. So I think when he does go, and again, I'll underline it, I don't like calling for managers to be fired. It will be when, it won't be if. I think he will know that he's had the backing of these supporters. But you mentioned Martinez there. He gets himself a stupid yellow card when he's got the captain's armband. There were some spiteful challenges. There were some petulant challenges.
Heads were gone.
There were some cowardly challenges, and the heads had gone. Absolutely, right from the first minute. And by the way, this is Tottenham, and I made that reference tonight. It's only Tottenham. They won 2 of their last 12 away Premier League games. They didn't have their captain, Son. And you thought, well, actually, you've got Brennan Johnson on one wing. He's playing really well, in fairness to him. You've got Timo Werner on the other. He can't finish his dinner. He proved that. You've got Dominic Solanke, who really is still trying to bed in. This was a massive opportunity for Manchester United, and they passed it up.
100%.
There's no excuse.
And you talk about lack of progress. Let's cast our minds back to 2-2 here against the last Spurs side that didn't have Son, didn't have Maddison, didn't have Van der Ven, didn't have Bissouma that day, didn't have... There was a 5th player as well.
Yep.
They had Skip, Højbjerg, Werner playing, really depleted squad. And they should have beat us that day as well. And for me, what's really, really scary is that when we look at this on the face of it, having tried to back Ten Hag, having tried to be patient, having tried to see the optimistic side of things, the glass half full, and not trying to keep going on this managerial merry-go-round, there's no other excuses that I can look to. We were told last year, and we can see with our own eyes, completely utter riddled with injuries. I don't have my back 4. Ten Hag was going into press conferences saying, I think it was a quote, well, you don't know about football. You don't know about football if you think I can play my style without the back 4. Went into the Palace game, said it's going to be different to last year. I had to just get a team together. And we could see that with our eyes as fans. And we went, you know what? Really hard.
We have been patient.
Yeah. So we've been patient with that. So you've now got a better injury record this season, managing minutes. That's one thing. Second thing, Crookie, you're the man with the numbers and transfers. How much have we spent this summer? Over 300 million?
Over 200.
Over 200 comfortably.
Yeah.
We've backed you with over 200 million, and I counted 4 new starters in that team today. De Ligt, Xerxes, Ugarte,
and
Mazraoui. That's 4 new players into your style. Mazraoui, you know like the back of your hand, can play your style. De Ligt, you know like the back of your hand, can play your style. Xerxes, young Dutch kid coming up, you fancy him, you like him, you bring him in. Ugarte, we've tracked for all summer and got him right near the end for the right price. We chopped off 8 million off the price, la-di-da-di-da. 4 new guys, same result, same performance, same mentality. I watched Ipswich Town against Aston Villa before that game. I don't know if you guys saw it.
They dig in, they fight for the shirt.
They dig in, they've got a style of play. We're seeing Spurs there, where some of the Spurs fans want their manager. They're calling into talkSPORT near enough every week. Jamie O'Hara's losing his head, pulling his hair out every week, going, we're finished, we're toast with this, like you said.
Even
about
after
their
the
record.
win in Europe, people were ringing up talkSPORT saying, I still don't like the way that we're playing. And
awful.
It's not sustainable.
But you know what they want to do with the ball? You know how every time they passed out from the back with the same system, very easy to play against Manchester United. What excuse are we going to look at? There's far too many teams having a bit about themselves after far less time than Erik ten Hag than what we've done for us to back this anymore. That's how I see it.
I agree, and there aren't any excuses. And obviously, as you know, the press box at Old Trafford is right next to the director's box. I picked up a couple of things
What
there
were their
today.
faces like in
Well, I'll come to that, but also, usually, the row that talkSPORT are on is level with the row in the director's box where all the injured players sit. That was empty.
Yeah.
And that highlights your point. Yeah, Luke Shaw's still out, but listen, Angelina said it and I agree. We may as well plan for life without Luke Shaw.
Let's pretend he's not even there.
That's not going to happen. But apart from him, and maybe you could argue Hoyland
not even played for us.
Yeah, Hoyland wasn't fit enough to start. That was everybody. That was his best team available. And if his best team is only capable of that, that's a big problem. And you're right, the directors were there today. So Jim Ratcliffe wasn't there, but his underlings were. And I made a point, I sort of focused in on Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada and Dave Brailsford as they left the game at full time. They were ashen-faced. And they realise, actually, this is partly on them because we had this ridiculous beauty parade in the summer where they were openly sounding out new managers. That sends the wrong message to the dressing room because it means the players know that his days are numbered. Yes, they gave him a new contract, but they didn't really. They just triggered an extension on the old one. And I've heard whispers, actually, that it's not going to cost that much to remove him from that contract anyway. No. So that's not backing the manager, right? So if they don't believe he's the right man, and I don't think they did believe he was the right man in the summer, despite the fact that he won the FA Cup final, maybe that was even an inconvenience to them, have the courage in your convictions. What they should have probably done now, with hindsight, and again, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I backed him staying on after that FA Cup final, was say, do you know what, Eric? We're not convinced that you're the man to take us forward. Thank you for thank you for winning the FA Cup and the League Cup the year before. We're new owners. We're going to go in a different direction. This sort of halfway house has caused its own problems.
But Eric, though, Angelina, in terms of, I can see what Crook is saying there, but Erik ten Hag had the chance, technically as we're recording now, still has the chance, to say that was a blip. Prove to us, Eric, that was a bit. Prove to us that was just because of the injuries.
Well, he says he will.
Exactly, and all we're getting is false dawns.
And I think another thing that I noticed at full time, and I don't know, obviously, because I'm not in the dressing room, but even his interaction with the players was strange. He was shaking hands with more Spurs players than he was patting the backs of Man United players. He patted the shoulder of Mazraoui. He didn't even flinch. He just looked, fair enough, maybe you're a bit upset because of the game, but he just looked straight through him. He didn't even acknowledge that he touched him. And he was genuinely shaking hands with doing a bit of almost like a bit of PR with the Spurs players. And it was the same thing with the Liverpool game when I was here and I watched it. Even that I find strange. And I really do question how many of those players do back him. How much support does he have? But when, like Crookie's talking about what happened in the summer, I've always tried to be really positive, and again, people might say that maybe we are being a little bit hypocrites, maybe, we're running on emotions right now, but I really did try to back it. I backed that they kept him after the FA Cup final. I've backed, Ineos coming in, etc. But when you're looking at it now in hindsight, you do start to think, was that genuinely? You've brought in all these people that are, experienced, intelligent people in this industry. This is, where they succeed. Was that really the best outcome they could think of? To do that, to have or interview all those people, to make themselves almost be in a position now where they do look silly. If they sack him, they look silly because it's like, well, why didn't you employ one of those people you interviewed or work a bit harder at finding the right person? Or they stick with him and it's still like, oh, well, you just stick in with him because you didn't really know what to do in this one. I do sit here and think now,
They're
All
damned if
those
they do, damned
people.
if they don't.
Yeah, but was that really the best? Was that
Was
the
it
best thing that they could come up
I'll be totally
with?
honest with you, right? It's really, as fans, we're so emotionally invested. Of
Yeah.
course, we're broadcasters and it's our job to look at both sides. But I can just be unequivocally real with you guys and you guys watching at home. I feel like the idiot. I'll be
Yeah.
dead.
same.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm the
I
same.
feel like the idiot. And I don't necessarily regret trying to back my manager
Yeah.
or regret the
That's what we do, though.
because
That's
it's
what
easy,
we
because
do.
hindsight is one thing, but you know, you do when you are. It depends how you view the game and how you support the team. Everybody's different. Some people. I was walking out of Wembley, speaking to fans, getting their opinion, and loads of fans said to me, "Don't let that fool you." They said, "Flex, listen, I'm telling you now. We need to do a Van Gaal. Thank you. Can't believe we won today. This is brilliant. We will remember in the history books, but let's move on." Some fans, including myself, said, "No, you can't. He deserves at least a shot." And in my opinion, now, when I see it, he's had a shot.
He has.
He's had a shot. You've had 6 games now. Is it 7 in all
6
comps?
in the league, 8 in all comps.
Eight in all comps, and we can see where it's going. We know what Porto looks like. We know what Villa looks like. Let's be honest. So that's 10 games. That's going to be a decent sample size.
Yeah.
And depending on how bad the results are, might even be a few games too many. And then you know what? I'll probably be at peace saying, well, I thought he'd be able to turn it around, but he physically showed me he couldn't. But back to what you were saying, Angelina, you're right. Like, it does feel that when people were telling me, this is why I feel like the idiot, lot of people, especially neutral fans, I'm telling you now, Flex, they were looking for a new manager. And I sort of said, well, it kind of is strong leadership. There's so much change at the club. They've changed so much. Keep this as a constant. Let his players get back him in the market, see what he can do. But now I do feel like the idiot.
And you know what? I'm the same. I feel almost like I've had to defend the indefensible at times because we mentioned in this podcast before, people love kicking United when we're down. And, you know, I've got friends and people in the media even who've come for me over my support of Ten Hag and said, mate, he's just not good enough. And actually more damning, I've spoken to several senior high-ranking officials at other Premier League clubs. And I don't think other clubs and other managers think he's good enough. Other managers are not scared of facing Ten Hag.
No. As we can see.
You go back to Liverpool here, and Arne Slot on the pitch afterwards, basically breaking down the tactics and how they got the better of Erik Ten Hag. So it's very difficult now to make a case. You're right to mention it. He will go down in history. He did win that FA Cup, one of the most satisfying FA Cup wins probably in modern times as far as Manchester United are concerned. But ultimately, managers are judged on the league, and maybe that's why he keeps deflecting to the record in the Cups, because the record in the league is atrocious. We're 7 points off the top 4 already. That's a big gap to make up when you're trying to take on teams like Tottenham, who are progressive, teams like Aston Villa, who aren't going away, teams like Newcastle, who've got a really good manager in Eddie Howe. I think the top 4 might be done already. We're not going to get there.
I agree.
I was going to say, I mean, do we? Is the season already written off? Because if you stick with Erik Ten Hag the way things are going at the moment, you don't see. Let's say you stuck with him till May. I don't see how things are going to improve.
Be another 8th.
If they get rid of him,
Lucky
you've got
to
to
get
think
that.
who do they bring in? And again, that's just you're starting from square one. There's so much pressure. You know, people are talking about Ruud van Nistelrooy. Can he seriously get the best out of this team? I don't know. If they bring somebody else in, I just feel like whichever avenue we go down, as sad as this is to say, and people maybe think it is a little bit dramatic, because I do try and think, you know, we're in September, the end of September, you know, there's a long way to go, there's a lot of things that can change, but I do look at every avenue you could go down as to what to do next. I don't see how it can turn around.
No, and the problem that you've
That's
got
what scares me.
is that, and I've had to get into myself for this and remind myself of this. Although it was a mini new start for Ten Hag, like a new structure in place. Let's see how it goes. Get players back. This is his 3rd year.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
This is his 3rd year, and there still should be some basic principles and fundamentals that the team displays. Just because players have been out all last year and up and down with injury, there shouldn't be this lack of cohesion between the team. And actually, when you look away from Erik Ten Hag and just look at the players and the traits that they're displaying, yes, some of it is on them in terms of individuals. As soon as you cross that white line as a pro, you've got to put the work in. You've got to show the concentration. You've got to show consistency. But I look at us going in at 1-0 down, right, with 10 men. don't know how you guys felt, but I said, we'll come out and we'll concede very, very quickly.
And we did.
Because we have no resilience, we have no organisation. It seems as if, and this is we have to go off the evidence we've been shown, we don't have a manager who can inspire, who can galvanise, and where the players go, you know what, let's keep this tight, let's keep this 1-0, let's stay in the game. This is Spurs. They give us a few moments. We could probably have a few chances against these. Because I tell you what, when we were huffing and puffing with that fake positivity we were doing, and fair play to all the fans, by the way. When it was 2-0 and the crowd was up and we were singing, we've seen it all, we've won the lot. If that was 1-0 in sort of the 60th minute, if you're Spurs, they're going to get a little bit nervous, get a couple of corners, a couple of free kicks. You're in the game. But what happens? Our manager gets our players in, makes a few changes at half time, and concede straight away. Now, it isn't all his fault, but what I mean by that is that whether it's 11, whether it's adversity, whether it's we've just scored, whether we're knocking on the door to score, but we just feel, it doesn't matter what scenario it is, he can't inspire. And that is a bad place to be as a manager.
Well, talk to me about the changes. Okay, Kobbie Mainoo goes off. Looked like he had an injury, but either way, you've just gone down to 10 men. You're taking off a more defensive midfielder, and you're bringing on Mason Mount, who's clearly an attacking midfielder. Then you get through to a half-time, you take off your striker, and you bring on a defensive midfielder. So why not bring on the defensive midfielder right away?
Exactly.
It's a waste of a substitution.
100%.
Clouded thinking from Ten Hag. And you mentioned Ruud van Nistelrooy. This was the other thing that I clocked today. I think Ruud has been quite visible in the technical area to this point. I didn't see him today. I assume he was here. Is that someone trying to remove himself?
Dissociate himself.
I don't know you, Eric. I don't know you no more.
I know he's on borrowed time.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite telling.
I agree with the subs though, because I think the only thing I'll say is like with Mount, when it comes to the pressing, we know that that's something that he's better at.
Yeah, and he did run around.
And that was an area that Man United lacked. So I sort of got that, but I agree with the whole the Casemiro thing. It didn't make sense the way that he did that. I didn't agree with that. I was quite baffled by it as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to hear from KG as well, because we're going to bring him into the show. He's a guest, first time on Inside Devils. Let's hear from him. Let's get him in. A quick welcome back to Inside Devils. I want to welcome in a good friend of mine, my colleague, my brother, Mr. KG. I'm not going to say the comedian because it's not time for jokes right now. Just KG. And a reminder, we are here at Hotel Football reacting to this monstrosity of a performance that we've just seen. KG, how do you sum that up? How?
I don't think you can. It's crazy because I think I've been Ten Hag's staunchest. I'm.
That's what Crook is.
I'm Ten Hag. I love
You're leading the fan club for Ten Hag.
Been leading the fan club. I have to say,
Chairman
in past
of the fan
tense.
club.
Yeah, chairman of the fan club, and I just felt like, I felt like last season was a blip. 8th, the mitigating circumstances of all of this stuff that happened, and it was like when he gets his players back, when he gets the backroom staff, and then there was a moment of realization today of, we've got 4 brand new players that cost a lot of money that look as bad as the ones that we had before. So you can't call these new players dead wood. It's brand new wood. That's the scariest moment. There's players running about, and you're talking about Champions League Casemiro, who's running about and he's flailing his hands, not because he's a bad player. No one is starting to look good in this type of system. So even these guys are played at the highest level. De Ligt today. De Ligt's making mistakes. De Ligt doesn't do that. So you're getting to a stage with these players where they're void of confidence, and then you want this moment to happen where, in the last game against FC20, we conceded with it. It was someone went on that lovely little run and they scored. But then I put it down as an isolated incident. Well, guess what? Van de Ven today, same wonderful jinking run, cuts it back. How many times have we seen that go against Man United? Loads of times. And you think, okay, this is a blip, we can overcome this. He speaks to them at half time, they come back and concede in 3 minutes. How can I defend it? You can't it's getting to the stage where I'm looking for, because I would say I was probably one of the last of the dying breed, last of the Mohicans when it came to still backing this manager. I will struggle to find a fan to tell me why now they are saying, you know what, we believe. If it's only for you're just super hopeful.
Earlier on the show, I was saying to the guys that like I feel like the idiot now, and I'm not saying I regret like backing him, but I feel like there were so many signs, but like you say, you try and be positive. You don't want to just sack another manager. You don't just want to jump on a bandwagon. You want to try and stick at something. And even now, if we're looking at like what some of the solutions can be, it's like the Ruud van Nistelrooy thing. Is that going to be a shades of volley? Do you know what I mean? And we just don't want that to happen.
You saw how Ollie left this club. You lot know that last interview was the most tragic thing you've ever seen.
Can I just ask, is anyone pro Ollie coming back?
Absolutely not.
Just wanted to check, thank you. I agree, just wanted to check.
That's just some silly accounts on X.
No, but then this club, I feel like this club, we're not learning at the same time, because imagine, you've seen how difficult it's been. If we install Ruud van Nistelrooy as the interim manager, have we learned anything? Have we learned from the sins of the past? This is a massive club. It can swallow up a manager very quickly. Jose's been taken down. LVG's been taken down. Ten Hag, with all of experience, has been taken down. You saw what happened to Ollie. Are we sure we want to do it to a legend in Ruud? Or should we just go another way completely?
So here's a question though. You mentioned the big name managers who've come here and failed, the club legend who failed.
Yeah.
Is it that palatable a job, or is it becoming a poison chalice? If you are Thomas Tuchel, Gareth Southgate, Graham Potter, it would be the three most obvious candidates, I think, when you look at Ineos and their track record. Actually, I'm not sure Tuchel is going to be a candidate. I think it's probably going to be one of the other two. If you're Gareth Southgate, you come off the back of a difficult summer, you get to the final, but the criticism stung him, no question about that. Is this the job that he wants to walk back into?
I don't think he could do it.
I don't think any Man United fan deserves Gareth Southgate. I think that's out of order. But
you get my point though. I mean, carry on.
I hear what you're saying. The point that you just created the worst scenario. If it's between those two managers, give me Ten Hag to the end of the season. Like, mate, I don't know, Graham Potter, mate. No, they're not good enough. Like, we have to look at
who is good enough?
It doesn't mean they're the answer.
They're not the answer. They are not the answer. We as Man United, I know that Liverpool boy and Arnie Slot and everyone else is. Like, Maresca's gone in, and I thought that was a strange appointment because he's never managed at the highest level. But then this club is different to anything you've ever seen before. Like, players come here, and for some strange reason, they just can't do it in a Man United shirt, but they leave, and they're fine. So you have to understand the level for players, the level of expectation, plus any manager that walks in, the spotlight's on. We need to get someone, a steady hand. And the only person that, for me, at the moment, is a Tuchel. You need a manager you need someone that is...
But we've been there and done that. Is Tuchel not just a Mourinho Van Gaal clone? You know, a big name manager who's done it in European leagues. He's won the Champions League, as Mourinho had.
But then when you talk about losing the dressing room again, you lot have all seen the situation that we've had before. We've got some players that have won some stuff. We got De Ligt in there, Casemiro in there, and Rashford. He has his expectation. Are you really going to put a Gareth Southgate that didn't pick Rashford? You've got a situation.
I think
again.
It might have to be something really left field. Like you know how Liverpool were chasing like Ruben Amorim was like their number one target until it wasn't again.
I'm not sure he was.
Yeah, well, his name was in the hat. You look at what happened with the merry-go-round at Bayern, and then it ended up being Vincent Kompany.
You just take Vincent Kompany.
But like, I feel like this is where we've now come, and this is what the scary thing is, Angelina, isn't it? It's like, why, I suppose, we do have the glass half full of like, no, just stick with Ten Hag, we can't have another manager. No, can't do that, don't have another manager. But then you go, who is there? But that's not a good enough reason to stay in this relationship. But who else? Find someone, because this isn't it.
Yeah, this is the thing, and like I say, I don't know how they proceed with this because they're going to look foolish any route that they go down. For me personally, Southgate and Potter, I know Potter's recently done an exclusive interview of how he's had his glow up and he's back and he's ready to get involved, and that's lovely. But not even speaking from a tactical point of view, not even getting into that, just from like what you said, this is a completely different game. This is different to England. This is different to Chelsea. And I personally, from what I've seen, and I know that Gareth Southgate and Graham Potter got a lot of abuse that I don't stand by and I don't think is okay. but I don't think either have what it takes to take the level of scrutiny. The scrutiny within the media. Gareth Southgate just about got through it, but that was what, a couple of times a year, one tournament every other year?
He didn't enjoy it in the summer.
No. And I don't think somebody like Southgate could take that scrutiny. And I know the pressure that Potter was under. Magnify that by 10. I don't look at either of those names and think, you can take the heat.
Yes.
You can take the heat in the press conferences. You can come out and speak well. You can back your players. You can earn respect from your players. I just don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't look at either of them and their track records and think I would trust you in that position to be able to take it. And also, you know, maybe bite back a little bit as well and stand your ground.
Ten Hag has done that though, in fairness. I mean, I've got to say the sort of siege mentality that he manages to create and, you know, come out and defend himself, I think is admirable. And he's a good guy. There's no question about that. But the issue we're talking about potential candidates. The names aren't jumping off the page.
No.
You know, and I think that's probably why Ten Hag is still there and Ineos decided in the summer not to make a change. It's difficult.
I think it's funny because Ten Hag's still our manager. You know, that's
and he's not going to not be by the next game.
But guess what? The games that we have ahead are scary games. You're looking at the table like Man United. We're actually getting used to mediocrity. We've played 6 games this season and we've lost 3.
We've got 7 points.
That's insane. That's the height of insanity. And the fact of the matter is, it's only going to get worse.
And the manner as well.
The manner's bad. Yeah. And today we made Timo Werner look like he was a semi-decent player. We made Brennan's having he's having his moment right now. But then we were so lucky Son wasn't available today. So now you're going through it and you're saying, well, we got Porto and then we got Aston Villa. Those are the 2 games where it could be the writings on the wall, so they have to make a decision. And then now it does feel like if it's going to be anyone, it would be Ruud.
Yeah, if they make a decision, I think it's nailed on that Ruud will step in for some period of time. Whether that is till the end of the season or whether that's for a couple of weeks because they are going to home in and go and get someone.
I genuinely think that depends on Gareth. I really do.
What depends on what? Whether Gareth Southgate wants to come here.
Yeah.
Please. So if he wants it, it's his.
I think so.
Whether he wants a bit more time.
Are you doing that sources thing again? Are you? Please don't tell me you're using your powers. Have you heard it? You haven't heard anything on the wire.
Mate, the whispers have been going on when it comes to Gareth Southgate for a long time now, even during the Euros. And actually, part of me at the Euros thought that was why he suddenly got so defensive, because he could see with every bad performance that actually the case for not hiring him was probably stacking up. But we know that Dan Ashworth is a massive fan, having worked at the FA. We know that he's got a relationship with Brailsford and Ratcliffe.
Nah, Crookie, he's not coming here.
Well,
surely.
Look at the way he left England. There's no way.
They would argue he left England on the back of taking them to successive European Championship finals.
All of that rubbish. Gareth Southgate could not be.
And listen, I'm not making the case for Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys, but I'm telling you the case that they would make to make this particular appointment, and was part of their thinking in the summer. Well, listen, Gareth isn't available. He was mid-tournament at the time when they were going around speaking to McKenna and De Zerbi and Pochettino's people and whoever else. So did they think, right, we'll give Ten Hag this extra year. If it works out, brilliant. If it doesn't, come October or November, we'll make a change. Gareth's available.
But is there a world where, like, we're talking about, we all do believe the writing is on the wall, because I said, I don't think that even if we do have results with Porto and Villa, I don't think that you can come back from it. And I get what you were saying as well about, you know, he has, I feel like the press conferences have been, apart from the mentality situation you had with him, he's not been as delusional and different things. Is there a world where we do end up keeping until the end of the season? Or are we all completely...
Today felt like, even at the end of the game, there was the players usually go around to apologise and they're more apologetic. They kind of say...
They just kind of went round the middle, didn't they?
But I felt there was a knowingness I was looking at the players and I was thinking, they know. Everybody knows what's happening right now. We're at that stage of, we can't do anything.
Resigned. Are we agreeing? Yeah, are we sort of... And this is a question to you guys as well at home. Are we resound to the fact then that, you know, Porto away, there's no way they can pick themselves up in a hostile environment like that and put in a shift?
Well, Porto got beat by Bodo Glimt, so I'm not as worried about Porto. I think Villa could be a car crash.
And if it is going into that international break, is that the final now?
Oh, we got international break after that as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's when it happens.
Yeah.
It's usually international break. The papers go crazy, and it's great. It's great for the media, really. When you think of the jet lag, imagine that run. Oh no, you're not going on a holiday. We'll start to talk about who could be next, what's next. There's all this speculation that happens. It's almost like a little transfer window that happens again. But it's a shame. The fact of the matter is, nobody here on the panel wants to see Man United in this situation or see another manager potentially lose his job. But then managers are responsible for results, and Man United are below standard. They're below standard. Comparing them to everyone else, we say we create all the chances, we don't score enough goals. No. And the stats say, look at Xerxes today. Does he look like someone that's going to get you 18 to double figures?
He
No
reckons
chance.
he can turn him into a prolific goal scorer.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not.
But I don't think that's even who Xerxes is.
No,
That's
he's a
story.
10. He says that himself. And actually, we've not really laboured on it too much. The Bruno Fernandes red card.
Bloody hell.
Are you in the flex camp? I mean,
It doesn't matter.
He doesn't think it was a red. I did, but you're right. It doesn't
I
matter.
thought it was harsh.
It was harsh. He slipped, but it doesn't matter. I think that the red card almost was a great excuse for us as United
We've
fans.
said that, yeah.
But what it does do now is it gives them an excuse to take Fernandes out of the team, which actually we were advocating for the Palace game.
Yeah.
After every single one he's played.
So you can put Xerxes in the 10. You can start Højlund up front, although again I thought he looked devoid of confidence today. But maybe
Without the pressure
Fernandes
of the
has done
media.
us a favour. He's bound for 3 games now. I think he does upset the structure in midfield because he does just sort of do his own thing.
But then we got injuries though, because I don't know if Kobe's all right.
But then
and
Eriksen
Mason
can, Eriksen can sit there with
So
him.
it's Ugarte, Casemiro with.
Can I be honest though, guys?
Go ahead.
I don't think it matters. Honestly,
Gary
I'm
Pallister
actually
was there today. We'll stick him at the back.
put him in. I've honestly got to the stage where I look at it now. I'm done with that. Do you know what we used to do before? This is what we used to do. I tell you what, Lindelof, Maguire. No. Listen, get them out of there. You know, we've got this Martinez guy now. We've got the Butcher. We've got the Rolls Royce for Varane. This, that, and the other. Fantastic.
Doesn't change.
You know. We've lost 7-0 with them guys. It's Maguire's fault. Let's get the armband off him. Give it out. Tell we need a proper leader. Get Bruno in there. Look where we're at now. We're now saying Bruno shouldn't even play for us anymore. Why did he get this new contract? Then we go, I tell you what, man, when Luke Shaw plays, it's fantastic.
How
we
many
need
times
this.
have we said such and such a body is the missing
Every
piece?
single time.
Right.
I tell you what, I'm so glad Ahmad's in now. Now we're going to see the answer to the right-hand side. Now we're going to see someone really, has a tough time. You know what? I'm so glad Højlund's got another striker now. Now we can do this with him. Now we can do that with him. No, we can't. I'm so glad everyone's fit. I'm so glad that we got Amrabat in. We left him with Fiorentina, no pre-season, got him deadline day. He comes in, hardly plays, comes in at the end of the season, does all right. He leaves. I'm so glad we're going to get Ugarte. He's going to fix it. He's going to do this. Casemiro. It doesn't matter. And these are the things I'm talking about. When we're looking back to Ten Hag now, there's no more excuses.
But maybe what you've highlighted there is the fundamental issue that hasn't changed. The Ineos are here, but the Glazers are still very much part of the fabric of the football club. So you're saying effectively it doesn't matter who plays
only one man
for
left.
United. Well, yeah, but does it matter who's in the dugout? Because we've churned up so many managers.
But then the bit
maybe
there,
this is just Manchester United.
Well,
maybe there is no saving the club.
Well, no, we will be back. I have no idea when.
We've been saying that for
100%.
11 years.
Liverpool was
12 years.
saying it for 20. What was it?
Well, that's what we've become.
Yeah,
We've
and that will
become
probably be
Liverpool
us.
of the 90s and the 90s.
But then what I mean though is like the last thing left to change in this cycle is going to be the manager. Yeah. We've literally just changed the whole structure. Yeah. We've got a new recruitment team. We've changed our whole backroom staff. Mitchell van der Gaag, his right-hand man's gone. Ruud van Nistelrooy was sitting with Rio Ferdinand saying, I got the call of Eric personally. He called me, told me he wanted to go. I couldn't believe it. So he's had that. He's had an extension of a contract. He's had 200+ million more. He's had injuries back. What do you want? Yeah. What do you want? You've won a couple of trophies. Yeah. What do you want?
I think, trust me, please, even to any camera, I stress it to all the cameras right now. do not bring in Gareth Southgate. The last appointment he had in club football was Middlesbrough. It's been a long time. He is not ready for that. Another manager, the other Graham Potter, his biggest struggle was, it was incredible. Flex, his one was, he had the one when he came into the meeting and said, we just had some crisis talks. He came into the presser. Imagine the level of the questions that he's going to face in any press. If anything, for now, if we had to make a decision, then it's Rude. Interim,
It's going to have
and
to
see
be
what happens.
for a
It
little
must
bit
be.
anyway, for
It must
5,
be.
6, 7 games, and then knowing us, it will be Rude's at the wheel because you know the bounce will be there and this, that, and the other. In this
There has to be
last,
some bounce.
absolutely.
World's biggest trampoline.
In the last segment of the show, look, I know this is going to sound silly. Well, it's not going to sound silly. It's the facts. It's the truth. Ten Hag is still our manager.
Yeah.
He's going to be our manager against Porto. Barring losing 5-0 against Porto, he's going to be our manager against Aston Villa until this next international break. Angelina, I'll start with you. I feel like, what does he need to do? What changes can he make to the side? What can he do in this period? I know it's get wins.
Not show up. Just don't go. Just let someone else.
Don't fly out to Portugal.
Yeah, just don't. Just
Let
say
Bruno
you
do
lot
it.
go and you decide amongst yourselves. It's
Personnel, tactics.
it's so tough. Like I said earlier with Porto, on one hand they're not the same side from last season. On the other hand, they will really want to make an impact after losing their first game in Europe. I mean, I'm grasping at straws here. I think one thing I will say, I do give Bruno Fernandes props for what he said after the game. He came out, he did speak to the media, he held his hands up. As much as he was saying it wasn't a red card and James Maddison told me it wasn't a red card, blah, 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 he did hold his hands up and say, I made it worse for my team and I take responsibility for that. I know he gets a lot of scrutiny as a captain.
Words, though.
But is this maybe, is this Porto game a chance for him to really prove himself?
Yeah, 'cause he can actually play.
And to show why he's the captain, why he should be in that position. Is that something for him, some kind of redemption that he can have? I'm not too sure. It's really, really tough to think about this game. Porto is not an easy place to go. No. I've been to the stadium myself. The fans are really up for it. It's going to be very, very tough. I would like to see. I mean, it's hard to comment on the Marcus Rashford situation. Was he dropped him? Was he not dropped him? Things like that. I think maybe you do. Garnacho and Ahmad. Maybe go with that on the wings
play
again.
Højlund, I think.
I think
Yeah.
I would
He's
agree.
due a
I
start
think that Højlund desperately needs some game time. I wouldn't really be mad if I didn't see Ugarte for a few games, to be honest, because he was pretty bad. And maybe we as much as people say his legs have gone and everything, maybe we give Eriksen a chance because he's actually been quite impressive.
Yeah.
During the international break, I think he did more or less okay during that, and then he's come back. And I understand that he made the mistake in the middle of the week, but he also scored a fantastic goal. You see some of the passes that he picks out at times are absolutely brilliant. Maybe we give him a bit of a run in that game.
I dropped Dallo as well. I thought Dallo was atrocious today. I think he's had a poor season. I'll probably play Martinez left back and bring in another centre back. I mean, Maguire was injured today, but I think Dallo's been really poor compared to the standards that he hit last season.
I don't know why Ten Hag just doesn't change because Masraoui can play on the left hand side.
Yeah.
If Dalot's struggling put Dalot in his rightful
Swap them
position
over. The
other option.
on the right hand side, that could be a move. But I know you're not talking about the Bruno redemption. I don't think we should waste our time with that. I think the smartest move if he's out for 3 games, you need to see what's going to work for your next couple of games. So what I would do is I would now
Plan for that.
I'd plan for that. I've lost him for 3 games. Just imagine as a worldie. And then what are we going to do as United fans?
It's going to be Mount straight in there, I think. Well, I don't know how
His head injury, yeah.
Is it bad?
Well, then you've got to think about rotation. We don't have him for 3 games, so do we use him in the European game? I don't know.
No, I think we have to literally plan for what it looks like without him because we're going to do this annoying thing. We probably win the game against Porto with Bruno and then have this excuse of, if we had Bruno, we would have won these games. Nope. Ten Hag now has to realise what he's going to do with this team. And the scary thing for me is Do you feel like he's struggling because he's got all these players and he doesn't know what to play in?
I was just going to say, you know, we might be overthinking it here, and Ten Hag's probably at home now, you know, sat with his tombola machine and seeing what numbers come out, because it does feel like that at times.
Just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, guys, actually, you can see from the vibe and the feeling on the show, we're not in a good place, and I'm sure you guys watching at home are not as well. Unless you're a fan of a different club and you've come here to laugh, then you will be in a good place. But that's all we've got time for in this episode of the Inside Devils. Big shout out to KG making his debut. Sorry to draft you in on this awful day.
No,
I thought it'd be a good one. I thought it'd be a good one, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Thanks.
A big shout out to Crookie as always, and Angelina. And big up to all of you guys. Please smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And thank you to Hotel Football for allowing us to be in here as well. We'll see you on another episode of Inside Devils very, very soon. Take care. Peace.